What's up, everybody? Welcome to part 2 of making a scale diorama by shopping my stash. As you can see, I'm using a random assortment of materials to create a bunch of cool stuff for this lakeside scene. This is a brief look at part 1, but I'll link to this video below if you haven't seen it yet. In today's video, I'm getting crafty with materials and making some fun miniatures. So stick around if you like diorama videos or little small DIYs like this one, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm getting started by fitting these sticky-backed pieces of cork onto the base. I think it'll have like a dirt or loose ground appearance once I paint it. And I'll also fit it around the dock here, cutting back so the dock sinks into the ground. Speaking of the dock, I wanted it to look like it had been there for a long time. So I used various tools to scratch at the surface and break out some small sections. I did all that in part 1, but it just didn't feel finished, so I used a paper clip to add divots that would look like nail holes at the end of each plank. Once I had all the distressing done, it was time to give the piece a base paint. I mixed up a custom color from these craft paints here. I'll list everything down in the description. I wanted something that looked like old rusty metal, a real deep mahogany that hints at a fancy dock that was built years ago. And this is just the base color though. Stay tuned to see me distressing this with some really cool driftwood colors. While the dock dried, I used brown craft paint to coat the small piles of popsicle stick logs. And I grabbed twine to tie up each one as if it was a little bundle of firewood. These will probably live somewhere over near the fire pit. And speaking of the fire pit, my Japan scraper came in handy to remove the pile of glue and clay from this plastic. Hang in there, this will become a fire pit, I assure you. Once I removed any loose stringy bits of glue, I mixed up a custom gray color out of gray and brown craft acrylic. I used that paint to coat the entire piece. And since it was a perfect rock color, I also used it to coat the two boulders. Then it was time to start the piece of this diorama that I know will look the jankiest, the dock dude. I'm using air dry clay to create this person, but this isn't my first attempt at creating a clay figure for this thing. I started with polymer clay, thinking if I could bake it, then it would be more sturdy. But unfortunately, that clay is really floppy and I just couldn't get it into a sitting position. So I went back to the drawing board and pulled out the air dry clay instead. Not that it worked so great with the air dry clay either, but there was a bit more substance, so the figure sat pretty well upright when I propped it up, which I did. Yeah, even though the dude is flat, because honestly, it had already been about an hour on this piece and I just couldn't work on this figure anymore. So I propped it up with popsicle sticks and left it to dry. I coated all of the tree branches in brown craft acrylic. It felt kind of flat, so I wanted a second tree. I grabbed some straws and bound them together. Then I pulled out each individual piece and twisted it to create the base of what will become a branch. Then I used one layer of some table napkins and a 1-to-1 water to Mod Podge mix to decoupage them over the plastic. I did one layer of napkin on the branches and 2 layers on the trunk. After the first glue started to set up, I added a lot more glue just to make sure everything stayed in place. And I left the tree to dry by poking the trunk through a curved piece of cardboard that I coated in plastic wrap so nothing would stick together. By then, the dock base paint dried, so I got to weathering. I'm starting with Dixie Belle Boss in gray, and I'm lightly dry brushing that over the surface. I want the darker color to show through as the nail holes and some deeper gouges in the planks. I added a couple of different gray and tan tones in the same way, but I did everything else off camera. I used black, gray, and brown craft paints, and I dry brushed onto the fire pit to create dimension in the rocks. And that's where I'm going to leave you all this time. In part 3, I should be wrapping things up, and you won't want to miss that because I'm shifting directions entirely on the base of this piece. Yeah. So anyway, go subscribe below, then click all in the bell menu, and you'll get notified of all my uploads. But thanks so much for watching today. Later, peeps!